All right, David Pascal, can you hear us all right? All right, we'll start with Rob Lewis, Grant Ramey, then Mike Wilson.
Coach, just where did you feel like the defense came up short today? That was not a typical defensive effort from you guys.
I think one-on-one defense, I think that normally when we do a good job of guarding sets, but we just did not do a very good job with our one-on-one defense, which we don't ever want to leave someone in an island by themselves to do that. I didn't think we did a great job getting into our gaps to help. And I also felt like because our offense wasn't what we wanted it to be, that hurt our defense today as well, to keep some pressure there to where they feel that, there's a need to score when they come down. But again, the one-on-one defense wasn't very good. And then we fouled shooters a couple times where we didn't need to do that. And, but I just didn't feel like even from I don't quite get it. In fact, I didn't think we listened today. I don't think our team, the young guys are learning, obviously, and you guys know that one game that you play is not going to be the same the next game, or maybe the game after that. We told them that you're not going to be able to drive and spin because we know people are going to come do that. It took us too long to adjust with that, but we still need more from other players. We can't rely or ask Keon and Jaden basically to guard the other team's best players for the most part and then come down and end up with the ball in their hands because other guys aren't trying to get involved and we're not executing the way we need to execute.
Rick, what do you got to do differently to try to establish some kind of consistency with this team?
That's a tough question. It's a good question. You know what? The young guys, you look at it. If you really look at it, I would say the inconsistency is coming from our older players, and that's the disappointing thing. We should be putting the pressure on the younger guys to do what they've been trying to do for us. And yeah, they're good players, they're talented players, but we still need a balance. We need some of those guys want to make big, hustle plays, get the stick backs but more importantly, just when we call a play to try to work through them wanting to play with the kind of force and the kind of aggression that you want to play with, as opposed to just going through the motions. We put a lot, like you look at Jaden Springer's line tonight. What was it? He had, I thought Jaden did a great job. In fact, he's trying to, play a lot of minutes. Now, 3-point line. I thought we had some great looks at the three that we're going to take them. But some nights when those aren't going in, we still got to take them. But when we go to a set and wanting to play inside out, now it's important, and it can't be through those guys all the time because when they get it, and we've done some of that the last couple games, and they were trying to do it tonight on their own, but they kept getting themselves in a little bit too much trouble holding the ball. We knew all night long when they were coming to double, all we had to do was make the pass to the skip pass to the other side, and we got all we wanted, but we weren't doing that quick enough. And to get the consistency you're talking about, it's not going to come from just one player. It's going to come from a group of guys as a whole on both ends.
Rick, how do you explain kind of I don't want to say no show for the last month from VJ and Fulke, but just the struggles that those two guys have had, and what sort of things can you try to get more production from those two?
Well, we obviously didn't start Fulke tonight, and VJ, he comes in and again, it's not so much, I think, defensively. And we need those guys. We do. But when they go in, they're going to have to be productive. If not, I thought Olivier showed us some things tonight. EJ does it, but we can't give away those point blank layups. We can't. It's hard enough to score in this league. When you execute and get exactly what you want, you got to finish those plays. And so I thought, Olivier, I thought his demeanor was good. And the fact of the matter is we're trying everything to get guys to understand that we need them and we show them. But it's one thing, I think it starts in practice with a mentality that I'm going to get better. And I always say this, and I believe it. I think this game normally gives you what you put into it. And I believe that to be true.
Wes Rucker, David Pascal, and Gustavo.
Rick, obviously, Eves is banged up a little bit, but with some of these other older guys, is there something physically wrong with them, or is this just sort of a mental block or some sort of a rut that they're in?
Well, I can't imagine there's something physically wrong with him with as much time as our, with Garrett and Chad and the staff spends on really trying to do everything we can physically to help them with their bodies. I mean, every day, all day long, how hard those guys work to do everything that I think you can possibly do to help guys to recover. So I would have to think that it's probably mental. And I do think this game is 4 times more mental than it is physical. I think it also gets back with DNA. I think you've got to understand that you have to compete every single night at a very, very high level. And if you're not going to do that, I think you're going to struggle. I think you're going to be up and down. I think it's an every night thing. I think that you come out of a timeout and you start anticipating the guy's going to do this without being on edge, knowing that he can also he's setting you up for a back cut. If you're not on edge and if you don't understand that every possession matters, you're not going to get consistency. And it doesn't matter if you're playing offense or defense.
Rick, Cameron Thomas has been leading the league in scoring all year. What makes him so special? And then obviously he had that stretch at the under 8 where they drew that inbounds and he got the 3-point play. And then I think he had a layup in transition and a jumper, and a 10-point game went to 17. Just how big was he today and in that stretch?
Well, you got to give him credit. I mean, he got his numbers, and he's a tough guy to guard. He's a very aggressive, shot seeker. He's gonna seek his shots out. And I go back. I wish we had guys on our team that would do that. And some players you almost beg them to do that. Other guys you beg them maybe not to do it quite as much. So you got to give him credit for his that's in his DNA. He's an offensive, aggressive player that has a variety of things he does. He's got his little step back. He's a terrific free throw shooter if he gets fouled. And so I think you got to give him credit. And they put him in positions to where they think he can be most effective. And but he's looking to be aggressive offensively, and which I think you look at our freshmen. I don't think our freshmen are much different. Maybe not to that high level in terms of wanting to just score, but he wants to go get buckets, and I think that's paramount in his mind, and that's what he's going to do.
Rick, what kind of issues do you saw from this game that were kind of like similar to your last loss on the road versus Ole Miss?
Like inconsistency, just knowing who you can count on. I mean, you just from game to game. Again, I thought we were again when I say aggressive, I don't think there's any question our guards are trying to be aggressive. We're not getting any aggression from our post players in terms of the thrust we need from those guys. And that could be rebounding the ball at a high level. If you're not going to score, that's okay. Go do something else to impact the game. You can impact this game in a lot of different ways, whether it's, some guys can score impacted, other guys impacted other ways. And I just don't think that we're as consistent as we need to be. And I would say that comes from our older players, the guys that have been around and played enough minutes, because the young guys are still learning and they're going through it. But they do bring the thrust that we're talking about, and we just need it from other guys as well.
Finish up with Nicholas Hill, Wes Rucker, Mike Wilson, and Vince.
Coach, this week without Yves Pons being at 100%, you guys gave up 81 against Georgia and 78 against LSU. What are some things you guys need to do on the defensive end to return to some of the earlier production levels while Yves was healthy?
Well, now some of that goes back to the scoring goes back to a high possession game, and we're trying to play in a much higher possession game so there's more opportunities for the other team to score. But when you go back to the numbers, I haven't really looked at all of them right here, but they shot right around 50%. Is that right? Where is it? They shot 51%, 33. I mean, you look at their scoring line. That's what was it? Yeah. Yeah, you look at it, I mean, almost 52%. I look at that more than I look at the number of points. And you shoot 52%, you're going to win a lot of basketball games at this level. And when the other team's shooting 35 and 29, and you're going to win a lot. But there's a lot of possessions. That's one thing for the high scoring. But so it's the other things that we'll look at, not just the number of points. We like to keep people under 70, but 50%. It's not going to win games for you. And what we need to do, and again, I said it earlier, we normally do a pretty good job of guarding sets. It's when it gets down to one-on-one defense where we've got to get better.
Rick, when you're sort of going through things on a weekly basis or daily basis, and you're trying to game plan for opponents this time of year, how much more difficult are things when you don't know what you're going to get? Because normally this time of the season, you probably have a pretty decent idea. And right now, it seems like y'all maybe don't know what you're going to get on a daily basis.
That is one of the hardest things in coaching, is just that. You try to play the game as many different ways as you can in your mind, and knowing that you're going to have to be ready to make some kind of adjustments here or there or whatever. But that's probably might be as bad a feeling as a coach as you can have, is just that. What are we going to get today? And when you don't know, that's the hard part. It really is. And what we want as much as anything, I mean, you look at, like I said, the way you can impact games. You go back to Eve had 4 rebounds, Josiah had 6, Jaden Springer had 6, Santiago had 3, Keon 3, Folky had 5. I would love to see Eve Pons and John Fulkerson have 8, 9 rebounds, as opposed. And again, the guards come down and get them, which is great too. But like to see that they, Eve is 1 for 5 and Folky is 2 for 5. And I can tell you this, within our offense, if they want the ball in scoring areas, there's ways they can do it, but they've got to want to do it. And also, I will say there was a couple of times tonight I thought we should have put the ball in there and we didn't. So it goes back, it's a combination of everybody totally understanding, but it's when you stand, like early in the game, we were just standing around. I don't know what we were doing. It's almost like we got lulled into wanting to play the way they were, the way they play their offense. We want movement. We want to open up those gaps. And they were perfectly fine letting us shoot all the threes that we wanted to shoot, which is fine with me. We get wide open looks, especially if it goes inside out, we're going to take them. And if it ends up being 40, as long as they're good shots, we don't have a problem with them. But that's one of the worst feelings as a coach, especially this time of year, is just that. I mean, guys can have some tough games. It's not guys having some tough games. And we're still searching for that consistency from some key guys.
Rick, with Folky, how concerned are you at this point with the way that he's played lately? And at what point does it shift from you needing to challenge him through things like not starting him to him just having to look in the mirror and say, I got to do better?
Well, I think it's at that point with him. I don't think there's any question. I mean, when you're a 5th-year player, I don't think there's any questions. You got to look at it and say right now. And I think, again, we're going to try. We're never going to quit on him. Because we've seen him do it, and I've seen guys go through it for whatever reason. But I've also seen guys just like that flip it around and turn the switch on and get things going back. But it won't happen unless it comes from within. I mean, he is going to. Again, I don't think there's any question that he has seen that if he's not doing it, he's not just going to get to stay out there, because we owe it to his teammates and we owe it to each other that we've got to get guys that are going to be productive. And also if it's mistakes on the defensive end, where he's making some mistakes. And I think that has to do with where he is mentally overall, where, he's wondering, and anytime you start doubting yourself, you get back on your heels, you're not going to be a factor. You're not going to be able to be aggressive, because when doubt creeps in, it kind of freezes you. And I think that some of that has happened with him. Whereas if he would just, again, I say this to him a lot, you'll just do what we ask you to do, because we know it's worked in the past. We've made adjustments with it because the other teams are going to adjust. But if you'll just try to do what we ask you to do, we believe that it can flip for him.
Rick, how much does it help through your experience to have a real dog on the court, someone that can really hold guys accountable within the game? You talked about impacting the game in other ways. How much can that help? And are you guys missing that, in your opinion, right now?
This is huge. You've got to have it. If you want to use the word dog, you need some dogs, that are just going to bite you. You need some junkyard dogs, regardless of how the game's going. They're going to bite. They're not going to bark. They're going to bite. And there's a lot of people that bark but with no bite. But you need those dogs if you got them. And where it's just like you said, it can't always be coaches, it's got to be, it's a player's game. It always has been, it always will be. But we need more of that. We talk about it. I can tell you this, we need more of it. And we don't really care who does it. We just need more of it.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.